If I were dark skin with 4C hair, with no idea, no proximity to whiteness, my message would be coming off as much more harsh. Desiree is so aggressive. Desiree is always yelling and cursing. Why can't she give this message differently? That is leveraging, right? I'm able to leverage my whiteness, my proximity to whiteness, your assumption of my proximity to whiteness, because there are plenty of black women that look like me that are monoracially black. But I do have the benefit of having a white mom, having white family, having white friends. I'm very public facing with that. So there is a leverage that I could use that gets me closer to here that someone here on this axis of it would not have. That unambiguously black person does not have that closer proximity to this whiteness to leverage. So now that we have that reframe, I want you to understand how you could leverage your own privilege, right? Your own, what you're doing is leveraging your proximity to whiteness, whatever that is, right? Like some people have none, this person right here, unless they then are maybe married to a white person. Like you have no proximity, no ability to leverage any proximity to whiteness when you get to this point. But the closer you are here, whether that's by looks, phenotype, hair type, or actual proximity in that 90-degree angle, you get to leverage more. And the closer you are to here, you could leverage more, right? That comes in where you guys do your assimilation, you guys do your code switching, right? Because, like, we know that if you are white and sound like Dolly Parton, she talks about it. I love how she's so honest about her white trashiness. Like, that is very much embedded in white culture. Before you guys ever thought about black, brown people, you guys were subjugating yourselves in here, right? Who's trash, who's worthy, who's not. And so she's able to leverage her wealth in her whiteness, right? That's how she leverages hers. Because if she were not wealthy and doing the things that would do, she would just be white trash. She would just be loose white woman. Nobody would pay attention to her. Straight out the trailer. That simple. So she leverages her fame and her wealth to do her philanthropic work. I hope that makes sense now. So now that we've explained leverage versus privilege, or at least a reframe to it, let me scroll back. Chat number one. So, one, privilege can be a tool for redistribution because privilege doesn't have to be a source of guilt. It can be a powerful tool for redistributing resources, access and opportunities, right? So, like we just talked about, a white person leverages their quote unquote privilege by sharing job openings with marginalized groups and advocating for inclusive hiring practices. At that point where you are in a certain place, it's not about saving anybody. Again, get rid of that idea. You have not been able to save yourselves from this space that we are in, right? If black and brown people exited stage left, you'd still be left in this oppressive country that is heading down really, really fast. So it has nothing to do with that. We just happen to be um, cannon fodder, right? But it's like, okay, we are the casualties of the war that's happening within whiteness. That is the best way to explain that, right? So when you're talking about what you can leverage, if you have a position, right? Like again, like when I was talking before about passing the mic, right? So you have a job opening. You don't need a government DEI program. This is wild to me watching how people are falling apart about an imposed mandate, basically. Like somebody should not have to tell you to hire in a diverse, equitable, inclusive sort of way. You should not need a government mandate. We are in 2025 now, right? Those things were put into place because unfortunately you didn't know better. Like if you don't know better by now, I I don't know if we'll ever know better, right? Like, so what if they're dismantling that? If you have the power, if you could leverage the power, if you are the wife of someone who has the power, if you are the friend of someone, the whatever, however you could leverage that proximity of power, that could be done. And if they are not honoring those things, then you divest. You don't shop there. You don't work there. You don't buy stock in it. You divest, you pull back because we have the power to say, that's fine. We don't need a government mandate to do the right thing. We don't need a government mandate to hire. We should be at a point now where enough companies are diverse, equitable, inclusive, and can choose to do that hiring on their own. What they're trying to revert back to is, the old handshake and a wink bro code, right? Like, but are there not enough women in position? Are there not enough marginalized people? Women are even white women are marginalized. Like, are there not enough people in position yet that we could just do the right thing? Right? Can we not leverage our proximity to power and do the better thing? Hey, Michelle, I am feeling a little bit better. After this, I'm still going to go take some NyQuil and get some Z's. So that's how you could use that as a redistribution tool, right? Like, we don't need government to tell us what to do. We could turn around and say, okay, you know what? Yeah, I have this position that's available, and I know someone that is right for that. And if not, I know a friend. No, I don't know. Taylor says apparently not better. Um, I think so. I think so. I think that we are consistently being overrun by media, and media is propaganda from the machine that wants us to believe that. But I believe that we have enough power amongst the people to divest from those that don't. Like, it's fine. You don't have to. Nobody's forcing you to do anything. You should not need to be forced. At one point in time, obviously we needed that. We should be on the other side of that. And if we are not, we have more work to do, right? And we can divest from the companies that are not. Oh, you're showing us that you don't care about queer people, you don't care about being intersectional, you don't care about poor people, you don't care about, better wages. We're going to divest. We're going to divest, right? It doesn't even have to be major, right? Like, it could be like, what is that thing that the kids were doing? Silent quitting. Silent quitting. That's what we could do. We could silently quit and divest from these companies that are showing us that they don't care about the people. But this is why it has to be beyond just anti-racism, because you have to see yourself as a part of this system. You also have to see yourself as as a victim of this system, as a marginalized person of this system, in order to do this work of redistributing power, privilege, leverage, however you want to name it, because you are marginalized in one way or another. Yes, race is the first marker. So that is inescapable for us. But there are other ways that the system does not care about you, and we need to be quietly quitting. We need to say, oh, I see you, and I will no longer put my dollars there, because capitalism is their main function, exploiting and extracting. That is the main function of this system. So you divest, you say no. They say, no, I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is. I'm gonna find a party that's like, we need to really start working on what does third party voting look like. I'm going to find a party that actually, like, not that they're running on a platform that's like, oh, at least I'm not the other guy. No, they have to actually be representing the people. If that's something that you're into. Again, for me, I'm not into the reform. I'm into parallel systems while this is burning to the ground. But that's not for everybody, and that's okay. I work direct services, and HMO land leadership keeps reinventing themselves. And they will. And we need to keep reinventing how we're going to support each other, right? We need to keep reinventing how community looks and how to work together to dismantle this, and how to build systems that are safe while this is falling apart. So that is my number one. Privilege can be used as a tool of redistribution. Two, leverage requires awareness and intention, right? To use leverage effectively, we must first be aware of it and then act intentionally to challenge inequitable systems. As an example, a university professor advocates for curriculum changes that censor Black and Indigenous voices, using their academic privilege to push for systemic change. So, we have these universities, right? Like, we have to be honest, is that capitalism is what keeps these things going, right? Because people are afraid to lose their jobs. People are afraid to lose their homes. And those are very valid. fears.